welcome, and I'm going to start by introducing a topic that probably most of you come into contact with every day, but you don't really think much about it, or in fact you don't really pay much attention. Maybe you think that, hey, that's not going to happen to me, or if it does, I'll just deal with it at the time. So now you're thinking, what am I really talking about? Well, I'm talking about scams. And tonight, my job really is to try and get you to think and pay a bit more attention to scams that you might be coming into contact with. Okay, so you're thinking to yourself, am I really exposed to scams every single day? Well, I would argue the answer to that is yes. Scams take many forms. Some might be easy to spot, others are not. And that's when it gets tricky. So think about it. Today, have you had any suspicious emails? I know that we regularly at the university, staff and students, get emails around from IT saying, look, latest alert, be careful of this new attack. Why do they do that? They have to do that because people respond to these scam emails. In fact, it's unfortunate that in my business school, I actually know some staff who have responded to these emails. What about product reviews? Bet many of you by this time of the day have been on, maybe looking at something and thinking to yourself, hey, I want to buy that. Well, there's a lot of reports online now about fake reviews. So if you've been on one of the big names, the chances are you've come into contact with that today. What about your social media accounts? In actual fact, there's a big increase in adverts on there that's false or misleading. So if you take the consumer harm report from Trading Standards, for example, last year they noticed a big shift towards a growing problem of internet-related scams. And one scam in particular is modelling scams. So lots of us, we want to be rich and famous. We want to think that we can be that hit model and earn a lot of money. And so we see these kind of things on our Facebook or whatever, and we think we'll click that and we'll find out more. And then we pay someone some money to take photos of us or a profile picture, and we never hear anything again. We might not even realise that that's a scam, and that's where the problem is. We just don't necessarily know what scams are out there. So here are some of the scams that you might have come into contact with today, but in fact there are many other types of scam. So some traditional ones, doorstep salesman, or salesperson rather, I'll come back to that one later. We've got the mass marketing mail fraud. This is one to watch out for any of your elderly relatives. Once you turn 70, you're likely to be targeted by this. What it is essentially a lot of posts, a lot of fake lotteries, misleading prize draws, maybe some clairvoyancy thrown in. And if you start responding, you get more and more of these until you've got willy bags full coming every week. We've got other things, telephone, we've got even romance, playing on our heartstrings. We've got investment, cryptocurrency online. And then we've got a whole range of product-related ones, like copycat websites. And we even see this week that fraudsters are trying to come in and get money from the poor people that's been affected by Thomas Cook collapse. So this is happening around us all the time. So most of us in here tonight are students, and you're thinking, hey, I'm not going to be falling victim to that. You're talking about my granny not being able to tell whether this post is right or not. And I don't get post anyway. Well, yes, there is an age factor here. Some research does suggest that as we age, we suffer things like cognitive decline. And therefore, we find it difficult to detect whether or not this is a true piece of mail or it's a fake. We might be lonely. We might also think that, we need something to do. And myself, I've been lucky enough to actually talk to some scam victims and actually find out some of the reasons why they've fallen victim. And these are common things that come out, unfortunately, in the elderly. But a recent review has actually concluded that, it's not that clear whether or not age is a very important factor. And that's because nowadays, technology, it's so easy to mass target individuals. We don't need to pay as much attention to older consumers. We can target everybody. And in fact, students as a group are one in which there are specific scams targeting yourself. So that be it house letting scams, common one before term starts. Then you've got a lot of things about scholarships, you've got things about tax and maybe the student loans company. A lot of emails there that could be fraudulent. And indeed, Nationwide actually looked at this in 2018, put a report together, and through that they found that 1 in 5 young people had their social media account hacked. So really, hopefully that gets across to you the message that this isn't just something for older people. Anybody could be a target. So now you're thinking, well, maybe I should pay a bit more attention. But what might make me as an individual be more susceptible to being a victim? And this is where there are some things that's personality related that we might not be able to do too much about. Some of us might be more greedy than others, so we go online, we see a product that's very, very cheap in comparison to all the other alternatives out there, and we think, hey, let's go for it. Because in that instance, or we have a tendency to be greedy, maybe we like to take this. Maybe we don't mind the fact that, oh, maybe it won't come, but I'll still buy it anyway. Or maybe we lack self-control and we just go towards that impulse. So some of those things possibly are more about us as individuals, more difficult to change. But there are other factors that make us susceptible, which is hard for us to control. The fact is, it is difficult to detect a scam. So I recently had a situation where early evening, I'm at home, I hear the doorbell going and there's a young guy there. And he gives me a story, sort of a hard luck story, and he seems to have a piece of paper that suggests that, he's allowed to sell products at the door. And I think to myself, I really think this guy is trustworthy, it seems all legitimate, and I want to help him. So I buy some products from him. Afterwards, I start thinking, would this guy really be out selling if that was the story that he was spinning? So I talked to my husband and we decided maybe we should investigate this a little bit further. We phone Action Fraud, so if ever you need to know who to report a scam to, it's Action Fraud. You can find out online. Phone them, they don't seem to know, but other people online seem to suggest they've had the same story and they weren't sure it was true. The fact is, I don't know whether the guy was a scammer or not. I still don't know, and yet I know about scams. That scares me. But it's the case that scammers are professionals. They use sophisticated tactics. And so it really is difficult sometimes to make that judgment. So I've already talked about this guy. He seemed trustworthy. He seemed legitimate. A lot of folks these days are getting calls from their so-called bank, or maybe even the police. Again, using authority figures makes you come across as if you're legitimate. What other factors offers, though, might be easier to spot. Well, that's where we can think about time pressure. A lot of scams have time pressure involved in them. You need to make a decision now. You need to do something now. If you don't buy this now, this nice offer will disappear. You shouldn't be getting put under that kind of time pressure. So recently again, I had a scam on the telephone. It was a recorded message, and it was saying I had been doing something dodgy with my internet at home, and therefore I was going to be cut off in 24 hours. I thought to myself, I don't think this is real. I put the phone down. But the fact that they used 24 hours is making it time pressure. You feel that if you don't deal with it now, you might regret. So you might regret not buying this product, not taking up an offer. You might regret not just dealing with this because I don't want to be without the internet. Do you? What about scarcity? It's linked to time pressure. The fact that you don't have many of these offers. You're the privileged customer. If you think you might be a privileged customer, then of course that might make that product seem as if, hey, I really want this, it's more valuable to me because it's scarce. But wait a minute, don't companies use some of these tactics? And there lies in the confusion, because legitimately a company could have a limited time deal on, or they could even do a limited edition of a product, and therefore there is only so many available. And that's why consumers get confused. There's another whole big bag of tricks that fraudsters can use. And I put these into a bag called persuasion tactics. They might use personalization. So emails often use this one. They appear to come from somebody that we know. Or they might even use our own name. So that makes you think that this is real. And I believe that's why a lot of my colleagues actually responded. They thought the email was from the boss. That's how real it was. And they didn't check the actual email address. Because of course, in daily life, we all take shortcuts. Or we all use heuristics. Quick ways of making decisions. I.e., the name is the person I know. I don't click in and check the whole email address or look down to the bottom of the email for that bit that says TEDxBangorUniversity and only for the addressee and all of this sort of thing. I don't bother with those, because if I did that for every email that come into my inbox, I would never get anything else done. So the fact that we use these shortcuts in our decision making mean that we can be more likely to fall victim of scams. So we have to be careful. And there's a whole other load of tactics like distraction, omitting details. If it's in-home selling, it can be just wearing people out where they just feel like, oh, I'll give in and get this guy out or this person, woman out of my home because they've been here for a couple of hours. So again, that's one that tends to affect the elderly. The other thing is that we might be told that everybody's buying this, everybody's taking part in this lottery, and therefore we want to as well. So it's important for me to try and say to you, how can I reduce my chances of being a victim? I'm interested in that question as much as you hopefully all are now. Well, age-old saying is very true. If it seems too good to be true, then it almost certainly is. And this is one that training standards also suggest people read. So make sure that this product or service that you're buying, it is realistic. Another good tip is to have a look and see if you come into contact with news, something local, a website, where they're telling you about these scams. Then that heightens your awareness of something called forewarning, like what I'm doing tonight, and that's known to reduce your chances of being a victim. Don't feel any pressure if somebody is trying to pressurize you into a sale. The law is you can always get out of things, so you shouldn't feel any pressure. And in a linked area, identity theft is also a big and increasing problem. So it's more likely if you've suffered an identity theft, these criminals can use that to then try and scam you. So they're related areas. So it's important you keep your details safe online. And if you're unsure, talk to somebody. See what they think. Does it seem genuine? And I'd leave you with the most important point, really. If you do fall victim of a scam, don't be embarrassed. Everybody's now targeted with these things, and the amount of them is many and varied. So most likely at some point you might fall victim. And the most important thing is that you don't feel that you want to hide that away. You do what I've done tonight. You talk to people, you share that experience, and you feel confident that you don't have to be a victim, that you can educate people to make sure that they don't become one. So remember, fraudsters, these people, you're sophisticated, they're very creative, they're always renewing their tactics to make sure they get through. So be vigilant. That's very important. Thanks very much.